How's it going, everyone? It is I, Anime Outlet, and this is part 7 of What If Deku Had White Flames. And before I start this what if off, please put your what if suggestions down in the comments section below. I have already put up the poll for what if should come out this weekend, but it doesn't hurt to put your what if suggestions down in the comments so that I can read them and hopefully get some ideas for maybe some other series that I might do later on this month or year. And now, let's begin. This is the end of the line for you, Stain. You're not going to be able to kill any more heroes once I'm done with you, Izuku would say as Stain would laugh. Sure, you're just a kid. You think you can beat me? Please, you're just a foolish child. I've been training for years to do what I believe in, and you're not going to be able to stop me. As Stain would rush at Izuku, with Izuku dodging, as Izuku would then elbow Stain in the back of the neck, as Stain would jump forward, starting to cough out blood from the blow Izuku did to his neck, as Stain would then rush at Izuku, throwing a punch, which was only a distraction, as he would then go for a slice with his sword. However, Izuku was able to dodge this, as he would then make an arm out of the fire, as this arm would come out behind his back, as Stain would go for another slash with his sword. However, the arm would catch the sword, melting the blade, as Stain would then go for a punch, as Izuku had just melted all of his swords, as now Izuku had the upper hand, as Izuku would use his arm to grab on top of a railway or a fire exit in the alleyway, as he would then jump up there before jumping down on Stain, who would try to roll out of the way. However, Izuku's firearm was already there, grabbing Stain before squishing Stain's body as he would scream out in pain, as Izuku would look at Stain before telling him you shouldn't have done all those cruel things to those heroes, as Izuku would then knock Stain out in the most humane way possible, as he would then use some rope All Might gave him to tie him up. As all of a sudden someone would start speaking to Izuku. Well done, Izuku. It's what I would expect from my own child. Now, I do believe you know who I am. As Izuku would turn around, his eyes widen in shock. Mother? What are you doing here? What did you do with Todoroki? As Izuku's mom would then say, oh, that's none of your concern now. But you are fighting for the wrong side, Izuku. You don't understand what the heroes have done, what they've done to our family, what Endeavor has done. That's why I killed him and the rest of his brats. But I loved you so much more than everyone else. Please join me so I can cast away Todoroki and have my true loved child. My true child that I actually loved. I hated all the rest of them because they looked so much like him. You actually didn't remind me of him. You were actually kind and nice. But Todoroki was always cold. He was never like someone that would be a great child, a kind one too. As Izuku would glare at his mother before jumping at her, trying to throw a punch at her. However, she would dodge back, as she would then smile. I knew you were going to put up a struggle, so that's why I brought him with me. As Todoroki would then step out of the shadows wearing a dark cloak, as he would look towards Izuku before sending a massive purple flame towards Izuku, as Izuku would end up jumping back, as Todoroki would then send a mass of black ice towards Izuku, as Izuku would jump back into the main road, as cars would end up stopping, honking their horns at Izuku as they were trying to flee the city. However, they would see Todoroki glaring at Izuku, as they would then realize what was going on. This was a battle between heroes, and they did not want to be in the middle of it, so they would immediately try to speed off in another direction, as Todoroki would look towards Izuku and would smile. There's no distractions now, Izuku. Nothing to get in my way of killing you. As Izuku would look towards Todoroki, as Todoroki would jump towards him, smashing his fist into Izuku's cheek, as Izuku would hear a crunch. So he would grab his face in pain before launching himself at Todoroki, going into just this primal form. As I believe that's what I called it. It's been like 5 days since the last part of this series, so forgive me if I forget anything. So Izuku would go into his primal form with his claw legs and claw arms, as his eyes would go completely white, as white flames would start to go out of his eyes. Izuku would run towards Todoroki, slashing down before swiveling his fist and slashing back up, as Todoroki would scream out in pain before having Izuku's fists meet on both sides of his face, slamming him down. Izuku would then grab his head before slamming him into a light post, as Izuku would ask if Todoroki was done yet, as Todoroki would get up, barely being able to stand on his own 2 feet, as Izuku would ask Todoroki why did he keep doing this. Why would he keep on getting up? Just stay down, Izuku would yell before slamming Todoroki back into the ground. As Todoroki barely getting up, as Izuku would slam him back into the ground, as Todoroki continually getting up before Izuku would say, "It's time to finish this." As Izuku would then start to power up a ball of concentrated white fire, as he would then send the fire right at Todoroki, as he would hit Todoroki square in the chest, as Todoroki would start to scream out in agony, as Izuku would look on, as Todoroki would then fall to the ground, barely being able to hold his own, as he would continue on screaming, as he was not able to get up anymore as the pain was too intense, as Izuku would look on, telling him he should have just stayed down, as Todoroki of course wouldn't have done anything about this, as Izuku would then walk over to look towards his mother, as she would then smile at Izuku, as Izuku would then feel a sharp pain in his lower body to see Todoroki's hand through his chest as a purple fire was off of Todoroki's hand. As Todoroki would take his hand out of Izuku's chest, as Izuku would then fall down to his knees, clutching his chest. How? How the hell did you manage to get up? Oh, it's hailing outside right now. That's interesting. I'm right outside. I'm looking out my window right now. So, Izuku would scream at Todoroki, "How the hell did you manage to get up? That was my hardest attack." As Todoroki would just smile, saying, "Oh, please. You really think that could have killed me? Our mother has given me many quirks and even unlocked the true quirk. Sadly, I can't take your white fire because you are a family member. It's just not how it works, I guess. But now, it's time for you to die," as Todoroki would go for the finishing blow before having his hand grabbed by his mother, as she would glare at Todoroki before yelling for him to stop, as he would agree with what she was saying. "Alright then," as Todoroki would then walk away back into a portal that their mother had created for them, as Izuku would look up at his mother before she would come down, knocking out Izuku, as she would then grab him and would throw him into a portal, as Izuku would then wake up in a chair tied down, as he would look around to see his mother standing there, asking if he would like to join them, as he would say no, as she would then punch Izuku square in the face, as she would ask if he would like to join them. Before he even said anything, he would be punched in the face. He would look on at his mother as she would continually ask these questions, as Izuku would continually answer with the same thing. "No, I'm not going to join you," Izuku would say, before getting his face punched in once again. He had learned how to manage pain. He had gotten a huge pain tolerance after training with Endeavor for so long. Endeavor made sure they had a huge pain tolerance because you never know what's going to happen when you're fighting villains. So Izuku would continue up saying no, as his mother would continue doing this, before telling Todoroki to come into the room and do whatever he likes to Izuku so that they can break him so that he joins them. As Todoroki would ask if he would join them, with Izuku saying no, as Todoroki would then make a purple blade on his hand, flattening his hand before slicing down on on Izuku's arm, creating a small, shallow cut. As Todoroki would then ask Izuku the same thing, as he would then do this again to Izuku. Izuku would do the exact same thing the next time, with getting a punch to the face and then a slice to the cheek on the other side. As this would continue on, as Izuku would be sitting there wondering what was going to happen next. This was no problem for Izuku, and plus these were small, shallow cuts. Todoroki was ordered not to kill Izuku, and anything deeper from the cuts that he was giving him would surely have caused Izuku to bleed out. So with these, it's only a small, shallow cut that would just be a pain later on. So this was completely nothing to Izuku. The only thing that really hurt was the punches to the face, which was nothing. So Izuku would be sitting in the chair as we cut to All Might, who had just finished fighting all of the Nomus. As he would then jump back to where he had left Izuku to see blood scattered across the entire alleyway and street, as he would widen his eyes in shock, being like, "Izuku, what the hell could have happened to you?" As he would then call up Nezu, saying that Izuku has possibly been kidnapped or even killed, as Nezu would end up arriving to the scene around 20 minutes later to see blood everywhere, as he would look on in shock. So I guess we have to start looking for him then. Hopefully there's nothing. Hopefully he's not missing for too long and we can end up finding him quite quickly, they would say. As a month would end up passing, Izuku's conditions would get quite better, as they couldn't just keep him in a chair for quite a long time, as he needed to eat and get movement, because if he gotten super weak, he wouldn't be any help to them if he were to join them. So Nezu would end up just calling a month break for them, and after that month break, while they were looking for Izuku, they would end up going on the summer training camp, where the attacks would end up happening, as the villain would end up attacking them, as they would then capture Bakugo, as they would end up taking him back and putting him in the same room that Izuku was in, as this would cause for another search party, as the search party would end up going around the city before Momo would end up telling them that she had created a tracking device and placed it on a Nomu, as they had then figured out that is where the warehouse was, as they would then start to plan a siege of this warehouse so that they could hopefully take control of it. And that's where I'm going to leave this What If off, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy part 7 of What If Deku Had White Flames. I'm sorry that this What If is a bit shorter than usual, but I really just have something to do right now, and I can't really record for much longer. And I would also like to tell you all to go vote on the poll in my community tab for which What If you would like to see come out this weekend. I believe What If Deku Had a Drawing Cork is winning the poll so far, so if you don't want that to become one of my What Ifs, go vote on one of the polls. And even if you do want that to become one of my What Ifs, vote for that on the poll. So yeah, I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.